The Industrial Revolution made advancements and marked tombstones. Textiles, farming, transportation, these all saw leaps forward, but other areas, skills and people were abandoned in that pursuit. This is what led to the Luddites. The word Luddite has unfairly, in my opinion, come to mean someone who opposes or is inept with technology. In reality, Luddism was a movement that spanned across Nottinghamshire, Yorkshire, and Leicestershire. It began in 1811 when a group of framework knitters in Nottingham destroyed 63 stocking frames. Framework knitters were skilled artisans who made fabrics, and a stocking frame was a machine used for knitting a stocking stitch, invented in 1589. These knitters were protesting against new machines that were mass producing and replacing their products with lesser quality ones and were putting them out of business. They destroyed the frames to show their dissatisfaction. Machine breaking was made illegal from 1721, with 1,000 machines being destroyed in 1789 during the French Revolution. Machine breaking is how the Luddites chose their name. Allegedly, a man named Ned Ludd in the 18th century broke 2 stocking frames in anger. They chose this figure to represent their movement and often signed off their assaults with Ned Ludd of Nottingham. They acted and met in secret, sometimes in inns, sometimes even underground. They were oath-based and often attacked in large groups at night. Luddism in Yorkshire was particularly unique for its violence. Yorkshire's first instance of Luddism emerged in Leeds on January 15th, 1812, when men with blackened faces attempted to destroy mills around Leeds. Luddites would often wear disguises and even women's clothing to hide their identities. Croppers, or shearmen as they were also called, formed the main face of Yorkshire Luddism. These were men who employed huge strength to operate huge shears that cut the surface of woolen cloth. Their main targets were shearing frames that made croppers essentially redundant. Attacks continued sporadically, with a particularly violent and large attack occurring on April 9th. Over 300 men attacked the machines, a mill owner called Joseph Foster. They also attacked the other machines along with the shearing frames, as well as attacking the bookkeeper, Joseph himself, his 4 sons, and setting fire to the mill, all while wearing disguises and armed with hatchets and firearms. 2 days later, there was a shootout between over 100 Luddites and the guards of a certain William Cartwright of Rawfolds Mill in Cleckheaton, West Yorkshire. Apparently, around 140 shots were exchanged, with 2 Luddites, John Booth and Samuel Hartley, dying of their wounds. Luddites had also begun arms stealing from mill owners in an attempt to rid them of their ability to fight back against Luddite attacks. On the 28th of April, in Huddersfield, mill owner and technology proponent William Horsfall was ambushed and killed by 4 men. He had been very vocal about his disdain of the Luddites and had even installed a cannon at his mill to prevent them from attacking. 4 croppers, George Mellor, William Thorpe, Thomas Smith, and Benjamin Walker, were arrested in October of the same year. Fear, many attacks, and robberies filled the county. Mills, machines, and mill owners were assaulted. From January 1812 until January 1813, Luddites were thought to be anyone and anywhere. On January the 8th, 1813, George Miller, aged 22, and 2 others were hanged for their role in the murder of Horsfall. Although repealed in 1814, the Frame Breaking Act introduced in March 1812 made Luddite activity punishable by death. Luddism in Yorkshire had all but failed. Newspapers at the time called it the most turbulent spirit. They claimed a conspiracy has been formed and were vehemently opposed to the Luddites. They showed mostly no empathy to their plight, mainly focusing on their methods employed rather than their reasons. While the Luddites, of course, deployed deplorable tactics such as murder and intimidation and destruction of property, their cause was mainly for fear of losing their way of supporting themselves and their families. This was at a time of low trade and war with the French and Americans. The government was fearful that the mutterings in the pubs and secret meetings meant that they were plotting to overthrow the government, especially as the world was in the aftermath of the French Revolution. So when an elderly person sneers that the youth couldn't handle a rotary phone, just as they may struggle with the smartphone, or with automation threatening jobs but potentially bringing increased production, or with the media portraying any outcry as violent no matter the cause, the question of the Luddites becomes very relevant once again. So we must ask ourselves, if it threatens our way of life but could benefit society, do we fight for progress or do we fight for what's ours?